Hey guys, another episode of the Well Balanced series coming up on my final few for the year. So I'm super excited to chat with Caitlyn today and talk all about mental health and how things like traditional Chinese medicine, yoga, all those kinds of practices can be very supportive, and just simple things that we can do also to support mental health and how that connects to so many other aspects of wellness, because I think some people underestimate that they do connect, and it's super important to show that they are all connected together. So I'm excited to chat with her. So I'm going to go ahead and add her in here and we'll get this conversation going. Let's see here. Always finding. Hey, Caitlyn.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, it's a little stalled, but I'll just not speak after you just to be sure. But it might be my connection. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay. There we go. Where are you located?
I am in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, actually. I live in Mexico.
Oh,
Yeah, I live
cool.
by
So
warm
it's
weather.
probably like,
Sorry.
yeah, beautiful weather there then.
Yes, it's beautiful, especially this time of year because there's way less humidity and it's perfect. Yeah.
I want to hear your whole story. Like what kind of led you there? Are you from there?
I'm not from there. I'm originally from Texas
Oh,
and went to Puerto Vallarta. A yoga retreat invited me down to teach. And I came down and just fell in love with it. And I was going through like a major life change and was ready for something different. This is always somewhere I've wanted to live, but it was always in my dreams. And then I still pinch myself thinking, oh, that actually came true. So I basically went home and arranged everything and just moved down. So I've been here for
I
four
lo-
years.
oh, I love that. I have a friend who owns a place there, and she's been telling me and my husband to go visit. And I'm like, I mean, I just don't know anything about the area, but if I come, I'll definitely have to hit you up.
Definitely, you'll love it. You'll probably be like one of the many people who they come and they say, "Oh, I'll just come for vacation," and then they end up moving here. It's usually what happens.
Yes, I can't imagine. You're a little bit spotty. Do you have Wi-Fi on? Maybe if you turn that off.
I do have Wi-Fi on. Hope
Depend. Sometimes it's a little bit better, but if you can't, that's fine. I can hear you.
is that better?
Yes. Okay. It's okay. I think that just the distance is probably the issue, but I can still hear you, so it's fine.
Okay, perfect.
Um, actually, yeah, this is worse. So you might want to turn that back on.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Better.
This is
We'll just go with it.
okay.
It'll do its thing. People probably
Okay.
listen to these via audio anyway, so
Okay. Perfect.
okay, awesome. Well, I'm so grateful to have you, and
Thank you.
um definitely like to start with like an introduction just to learn a little bit more about you and what got you into this space. Obviously, you do yoga and those kinds of things, so I would love to hear kind of your journey, and then just with women's health in general, if there were any things you were experiencing that kind of led you more to this, root cause and just kind of holistic approach that we try to advertise on our pages and share about. And then we'll kind of dive specifically into your passions and what you're, able to share with the audience in terms of how, mental health and yoga can go together, and certain things that we can look into, things at home we can do, exercises, and that kind of thing. So we'll talk about that.
Okay, well, so obviously my name is Caitlyn. I'm 32, and I started yoga kind of as a preventative pain, I don't know, pain measure, I guess, when I was pregnant with my son, now 10 years ago. And from there, it just evolved. I mean, that's a long story, but what started as just a way to feel better became this really amazing way for me to evolve not only mentally, but spiritually, emotionally, all of those things. And so I became a yoga teacher. On top of that, I have other specializations and certifications as like personal trainer, corrective exercise, prenatal, postnatal, all of that. And through that process, how I've always taught is just kind of a blend of both. I use a lot of the modalities that I've learned to bring a, a program of sorts to people that I've ever worked with. But my work now that I do with women insofar as their hormones and mental health came from me actually living it. So I went through a really difficult time about 2 years ago. I was in a very unhealthy relationship, and I had gone through a divorce. I'd gone through a traumatic twin birth. And then after I came and moved here, I was in a relationship that was not healthy, and all of those things over time and the chronic stress just led to so many health issues. I was dealing with endometriosis, skin issues, colitis, gastritis. My hair was falling out in chunks. I couldn't even really work out anymore. The inflammation in my body was so extreme, so I wouldn't recover from any workouts. That was really profound for me, because when I finally just let go and surrendered to that, and I started just diving into more breath work, meditation, and gentle stretching, at that time was all I could really do. My body actually, I noticed physical changes. So I was actually losing held water, like I was retaining so much water, I was losing that. My skin started to improve, my sleep. And I was really, I'd always known this in theory, but I was really shocked to start seeing these changes happen in my body, where I was not doing the things that we hear to do every day, which is like work out harder, like
Right.
don't eat carbs, all these things that they mainstream tells us we need to be healthy. And actually, when I slowed down and pulled way back is when I started making significant advancements in my strength. I mean, I actually got stronger. My muscles started to actually tone from very gentle basic yoga, as opposed to when I was trying to push myself to work out. And so, like, very long story short, I started to really dive in because I was having such painful PMS. It was like almost, blacking out every time, and major shakes. My back was hurting, and depression, anxiety was like through the roof, all of these things. And so I just dove somehow. I don't even remember how it happened, but it just did, where this training came into my life, where I just dove in and started to take everything that I was learning and getting certified in, and I just used myself and as like, the test subject. And I started learning how to sync even my yoga practices with my cycle. For the first time in my life, I learned about the 4 phases of my cycle, and it was mind blowing. And I started applying all of these things, and within a month, so through the first 4 phases of my cycle, I had 0 PMS for the first time in my life. And I was like, it was so incredible. It was mind blowing to me that I had gone this long thinking that it was normal to have PMS. And then just over the next 6 months, I was able to come off an antidepressant. My skin completely cleared up, and literally all of my symptoms that I had were completely reversed in 6 months. And so I'm just really passionate about it. And now the work that I do is helping women as well to use these techniques, because I still think that, especially in the yoga world, it's still very, it's still portrayed as like a fitness modality or an exercise program, when it's so much more. Really, the body is probably the last thing that true yoga is really about, and then when you couple in Chinese medicine, you see how we're this holistic biosystem, where many times the physical representations are just the symptoms of something going on a lot deeper. And sometimes, they're just a cycle. We don't know where one started and one ended, right? Like, maybe we can't deny that physical symptoms you probably have some mental symptoms as well. and vice versa. You start having mental or emotional symptoms happen first, or you have some kind of trauma happen or painful time in life, and your physical body's going to feel it. You either start having digestive issues or, way worse. That's just on the very basic level, I think.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of a very boiled down, diluted version of my story, but it was really powerful. I really at one point thought that I was dying and was on the verge of an autoimmune disease. So I actually had a medical doctor tell me that if I had not been doing yoga and meditation and those kind of practices, that I would be in full-blown autoimmune disease. And to have a Western doctor tell you that is, I think, incredible. So I really attribute all of it to what I do now.
No, I love that so much. Thank you for sharing that. That was so beautiful. And I'm so glad to see that you've found success and you found answers and obviously healing. And I think what you're doing is amazing. So keep doing it. So in terms of like generic, or maybe some top 2 or 3 things besides the yoga and all of that, which we'll talk about, other things that you had to kind of shift your mindset on and perspective when it comes to just healing and things that you could offer to those women, who may be experiencing similar symptoms. What were maybe like the top 2 or 3 things, whether it was nutrition related, obviously movement we'll talk about, but like stress management, those kinds of things that were kind of like your go-tos that made the biggest impact?
Yeah. Wow, that's a Pandora's box, as you know.
I know.
So I think from my perspective could be a little different from another woman's perspective. So for instance, what I see a lot with women, what I personally see, especially women in their cyclical years, is PMS. Like PMS is the number one symptom that starts to show up when we're going through anything in our life that brings on chronic stress. Now, PMS, but also it could be lack of periods, right? Like you could be someone who just completely loses their period. So it's very, every woman responds differently. I was just speaking to a lady yesterday who said that she got sick around Thanksgiving and her period literally came up a week. And she was like, what? She couldn't believe that her period actually backed up a week and it brought on her period. Whereas for some women, they just won't have it. It'll completely eliminate. Right. So the body responds differently to stress. And so this is why the work that I do is very individual with women, because even though we're all women, our bodies will respond in ways. And so what's really cool about traditional Chinese medicine is that it's a lens. We look through a few different, there's a few different ways that we look at health, right? It's a lens we look through. For instance, one of the basic principles of Chinese medicine is yin and yang. That's basically boiled down in layman's terms, opposites, right? For everything, there's an opposite: hot and cold, light and dark. So when you think of it that way, and as it's applied to your health, anything that is not in a proper balance will cause symptoms or disease. So at all times, there has to be maintained a balance of these things, or you'll end up with excess symptoms, or you end up with depletion symptoms. And if a woman is having depletion symptoms, she's going to be dealt with in a different way or experience different symptoms than a woman who has excess in the body, right. Excess heat or cold, etc. Right? So for me, what I commonly see in any type of situation is PMS show up, or any kind of cycle issues, I should say. The things that the top things that have really helped me is slowing down. And I really think that in today's culture, we just can't do that too much, because you're never gonna in our society today, you're never gonna have to slow down too much. You know what I mean? Like you're never gonna become totally scary because we're just always busy. I mean, sure, some people, especially women with excess symptoms, actually they need more vigorous type movements. They have to burn off more heat, things like that. But as a whole, you still need that balance of yin and yang. You still need to nourish and kind of take care, because there's a reason why you have these excess symptoms. And chronic stress, as like the blanket term, is something that affects all of us, especially women. So slowing down, and that can mean, that doesn't mean not doing anything. It just means changing the way that you do things.
Right.
So that was a big for me, was realizing how I could actually shift what I was doing, because what I was doing was sending my body and my nervous system into more stress, which was actually putting a halt on my progress, which is why the minute that I backed off in certain ways and then shifted the way I did other things, it actually gave my nervous system the ability to come into that parasympathetic state. And so I think that on top of slowing down, the umbrella of that is that the nervous system really rules everything. You cannot affect the body without affecting the nervous system first. So it's like, it's like an instrument. It has to be tuned. When your nervous system is in tune, everything works better, because it's the communication center for your hormones and for your muscles and for your joints. And so that's the key, slowing down and really trying to activate the parasympathetic state more often, because as a whole, we're all living in like sympathetic, unnecessary.
Oh yeah.
Like no, they're chasing us, like the people on the road are sending us into sympathetic, you know what I mean? So that was the number one thing. And then through that, also learning to how to undo a lot of diet culture, right? Skipping meals or not eating until way later. So blood sugar balance was a huge part of that. In my work, I don't focus heavily on the nutrition side of things. I would refer out personally if I was working with someone who I can assess them and I can see that, make some recommendations. But what I typically deal with is the nervous system, the organs, the meridians, through acupressure, and the movement and kind of respiratory side of things. So that helped me a lot, though, learning to balance my blood sugar. That was a big one. And yeah, meditation and breath work is huge. It's highly underrated, but it's huge, because you can't activate the nervous system without the breath. And since the breath is literally our life force, we have to really learn how to tap into the breath in everything we do. And what's really cool is then people who are very into fitness and they go back into working out, you can have significant improvement and performance when you learn how to really activate the breath better. So those three things are top for me. And I'm always addressing them with other women as well. And then from there, it's just really specific techniques for whatever the woman is dealing with.
Right? I love that. No, I think people kind of, as I was briefing in the beginning, like women, we just don't realize how much this stress and this on-the-go type of constant lifestyle is affecting our health. And like you said, there's not a capacity of slowing down that's ever going to be a negative thing, but also we almost all need so much of it to truly heal. And I think, like trauma being stored and just experiences being stored in our bodies. And it's so important to prioritize that. So if you were to offer, some simple things people could do at home, and like how to start doing breath work, what are some things that people could do, or resources to learn meditation or whatever, to kind of start, prioritizing this more?
Yeah. Well, the simplest breathwork technique that everyone should be doing and will benefit everyone is to always exhale longer than you inhale. Make space for a longer exhale. That really helps to activate the parasympathetic right away, and really helps to ground. So anyone starting out as a beginner with breathwork, there's obviously apps you can use for, a timer and things like that. But if you can make some space to just learn how to slow the breath down. So if you notice that an inhale that's comfortable for you is inhaling for 3, try inhaling or exhaling for 6. And I think the thing too is it's really cool. It's a feeling sense that helps you become more aware of your body. If you're exhaling and you start to feel anxious, you're probably pushing it too far. Just start like leaning in and kind of sensing your body, but exhaling longer is probably the number one that anyone could do easily. It's easy to remember, right? That's what I would recommend. There's also a more advanced practice, which is still easy, but it's just alternate nostril breathing, inhaling through one you plug the nostril, inhale through one, plug the other, and exhale. That gets a little more technical because it also depends on, this is where yoga and Chinese medicine come in, is depending on what side you're breathing through, you're activating more of your lunar or your solar side. And so it kind of depends on like, do you want to feel more energized? Do you want to feel more calm? Obviously, you'll activate the lunar side, which is your left first, if you want to start feeling more calm. But alternate nostril, really, you can't go wrong. There's no, like, if you do it, you're going to be all thrown off. It's better to do it than not do it, right? So it'll definitely help. That one's a very, very calming and also easy to remember. Yeah, and you asked me one more thing, and I completely blanked on what you asked me.
To be honest, that was it, just like simple things people can do. And then what do you think of like the body scan? Do you do that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the body scan's great. The body scan is a lot easier when it's guided. So you can find a guided body scan that would be recommended, because the thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to be activating your thinking brain too much, like trying to remember what part of your body that you scan. But some easy ways to do that yourself is to, again, make space that you won't be distracted. You can lay down, you can simply, I love to just let my intuition guide me. So I imagine, you can even imagine like a red ball kind of floating around, and just let the ball land where it wants to on the body. And it'll be very interesting, because you'll find that the body will find places of tension, and you just let your mind go. Let your mind wander, let that ball kind of float around. Wherever it lands, all you simply have to surrender and just, release. Let the tension release out of that area. It lands on the thigh, relax the thigh. It lands in the neck, relax the neck. The space between the eyebrows is one of the biggest ones. We all like hold a lot of stress there, and the shoulders, so just kind of, it doesn't have to be, it can simply just be areas that you pick out yourself and just relax. Using the breath, obviously, always, but I like to use that visual and kind of let that floating ball fly around, because it knows, and we all have that ability to tap into our intuition. So We're always being told what to do, but when we kind of become more still, we become more present, we find that we really know everything we need to know about our own bodies, and it'll guide us, right?
And then what about meditation? Do you feel like that's something people can easily get into? I've never personally meditated, and I feel like I struggle getting into that state where my brain is not firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? Where do you start?
Yeah, so if you're a beginner and you're just starting in meditation, obviously I have free resources for anyone starting meditation, simply because even if you've meditated for a long time, again, our life and our society is so busy, always being overstimulated, that it's really not just as simple as here, sit and don't think. Actually, the point of meditation really isn't to stop thinking. It's to be aware of what you're thinking and how to not become attached to your thoughts. So if you can simply view your thoughts as separate from you, and you can just simply let them, kind of float by like clouds, that's the whole goal. You're going to have, oh, I need to get eggs today, or, oh, don't forget, I have this appointment. You're going to sit down and all of those things are going to come up. It's simply not grabbing onto them and letting them run you. And the way that you start to do that, easier said than done. The way you start doing that is mindfulness. So I will always recommend that anyone starting meditation really kind of adopts a mindfulness meditation practice, which is, again, guided is best for beginners because someone else can guide you through.
Right.
But you can do it yourself by simply, again, you kind of just, you become mindful of, oh, the air on my skin, is it warm? Is it cold? How am I feeling today? Like you just start to simply notice, become mindful of maybe tension in the body. And you just notice it. You don't judge it. You don't attach to it. Breathe, the breathing practice coupled with it is ideal. Sitting down first to breathe and kind of connect into the body, then simply noticing how the body feels. That's my recommendation for any beginner is through mindfulness, conscious breathing, conscious awareness, moment to moment, and not becoming so like not clutching onto them, kind of turning the page. Okay, I see that, and that's where it really starts. And you can adopt that every day, right? Being more mindful of how you eat. When you're out walking, you notice the sky, you notice the trees, like you just start to become more aware in your life. That is the point, right? So I think people have a different idea about meditation, where they see people sitting down on a cushion for hours, and those people are not void of thought. Those people are simply in a state where they know how to just not attach to the thought. So that's my recommendation for beginners: conscious awareness, mindfulness, and using the breath, for sure.
I love that. Yeah, I think that's something that I've been eager to start being more mindful about, but haven't quite prioritized that yet. So that's something hopefully in the new year I'll be able to tackle. So I'll be sure to ask you any questions when I go there.
Please do.
Well, you've provided so much amazing information, and I want to make sure that everyone knows how they can find you and support you. So if you want to just brief everybody on what you offer and how you offer it, and if those clients who would be needing your services, what that would look like and everything like that.
Sure. So I'm on Instagram as katemarie.wellness, which they'll be able to see on your page, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I offer a few different things. So I have one-on-one coaching, basically where I meet with a woman and I take them through a very personalized assessment using traditional Chinese medicine as the lens for any symptoms that they're dealing with. And then depending on the woman, we will use either a blend of yoga, meditation, and breath work, also acupressure, or it could be just one. Maybe you're just at a space where it's breathwork practice. I had a client who I thought needed more movement practices, and what's really cool about this is that I'm your guide, but your body, it's all about getting you to connect into your body, because your body wants to heal, but it can't heal if you're not connected to it. So I help you reconnect to your body. Through that, it will give us feedback. You will start knowing what feels good and what isn't working. And when we do that, we can weekly reassess and make adjustments. And through that, I found out it was breathwork. She needed a lot of breathwork practice, and her body soaked it up, and we saw significant changes with her. So that's one of my offerings. The second one is I do a Hack Your Habits program, which is more of a global view, a kind of scaled out view of that for anybody that doesn't have the time or the financial ability to dive into a 4-8 week one-on-one. It's a way for me to track their habits, also their female cycle, where they are in their female cycle over that 5 days, and help them make changes that they need to kind of get a jump start on their goals. Then other than that, I just have some freebies on my website. So for instance, a free mindfulness, for beginners download. I have a 4 phases of the feminine cycle from a Chinese medicine and yoga perspective. So that's really cool because it gives you ideas for yoga poses and yoga practices for each phase of your cycle. What is beneficial insofar as yoga for each phase of your cycle. And then I also have an ebook, which is a more in-depth meditation for beginners ebook, and also a mindfulness journal. Those two go really well together because you can do the mindfulness meditation ebook and also use the journal as a way to tap into that mindfulness and that intuition and set your goals and, you know, kind of manifest them. So those are great coupled together.
I love that. So many things people can use.
Yeah.
Well, I've loved having you, and I'm going
With women
to.
also.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
sorry, I can hear you. You're just delayed
Are
on
you
my
there?
end a little.
No, all I was saying was I can work with women in all stages of life. So, you know, pregnancy, postpartum, menopause, and throughout the entire, you know, cycling years, with any kind of ailment, mentally or physically, which they go hand in hand usually. So, yeah.
Definitely. Well, I love that. And
Yeah.
again, so many things that you offer. So thank you for all that you do. And I will post this to my feed. So if anyone wants to watch, they can go back. And
Perfect.
I hope you have a wonderful holiday season on the beach. That sounds so nice.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. I'll talk to you soon, Caitlyn. Thank you for being here.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.